Could it be possible to get better fat loss results aiming to be in a calorie deficit for just 3 weeks and then taking a strategic break rather than aiming to be in a deficit for longer? The answer is yes, and this week I'm going to explain exactly why and why this approach is going to become a fundamental part of the Mind and Matter method. Even having done podcasts and created content around the idea of finishing the fucking diet and avoiding the gray zone when it comes to calories and nutrition, I still see the same pattern emerging amongst clients that I've worked with for an extended period of time. And it's that finishing the diet, finishing the fat loss phase is often the most difficult bit of all. There's a few reasons. When you've been in a calorie deficit for an extended period of time and you've been making good progress with your fat loss, it's still difficult to stay focused and energized when it feels like there's still a way to go. Even factoring in a week here and there where you may have been on holiday or out of your usual routine and you haven't necessarily maintained the deficit, it can still start to feel like an endless process where you're never getting closer to the finish line. And that inevitably leads to drift, a lack of motivation, or that nagging voice in your head starts telling you, maybe this isn't the game for you. Maybe you're too old. Maybe you've missed the boat. A calorie deficit is a stressor, and the longer you're in a calorie deficit, the more that's likely to impact on your motivation, your energy levels, and your fatigue. Especially when you factor in that the guys that I work with are in demanding jobs. They've got other responsibilities. They're trying to show up as a present parent if they're fathers. They're trying to show up as a present partner if they have a partner. They've got other projects and other hobbies and other things that they care about as well as this. When you're a 20-year-old gym bro, getting six-pack lean feels easier. And a lot of midlife guys tell themselves that that's because when you hit 40, your metabolism slows down. But actually, more recent research has found that there's no meaningful change in your metabolism from your 20s to 30s all the way through until you're about 60. But what changes is your lifestyle. Responsibilities increase, time decreases, and generally we end up more sedentary because most of us are sitting in front of a laptop all day rather than being active and moving around like we would probably do more of when we were in our teens and our 20s. But it is possible to finish the fucking diet. And I'm always looking for ways to improve the process and improve the program. And this is what I'm now seeing. Even breaking down the focus phase, which is the dedicated fat loss phase in the program, once a guy has been with me for 3 months or longer, the same pattern emerges of drift, motivation, and guys struggling to finish what they've started. Often that last 5 to 10 kilograms is the most difficult bit for the reasons that I've just explained. And I've got guys who've kind of been stuck in this pattern for a while now. The solution is to break it down even further. So what I've now put in place in the program as of today, and that's why I'm recording this podcast now so I can share this with the guys this week, is a 3-week caloric deficit followed by a 1-week diet break at maintenance calories. So that gives us 3 weeks of dedicated focus and 1 week of strategic maintenance. That might sound too short, but as long as we are realistic and we set our expectations accordingly about what we are likely to achieve within those 3 to 4 weeks, that shouldn't be a problem. And actually, having seen the pattern of some of the guys who are struggling in this perpetual cycle of trying to grind, struggling to stay consistent for more than a week or two, or just ending up aiming for a deficit and then not being in a deficit because they end up overeating in the evening or at weekends or whatever, 3 weeks of dedicated focus is going to be better than 8 weeks in the gray zone. The other reason is it's setting you up for success. There is less risk of you feeling like you are failing and more of a sense of this is part of the strategy. Even if those 3-week blocks don't go perfectly or don't go according to plan, it's still essential to then have a break in the 4th week and then go again. It gives us a chance to reflect, maybe iterate and try some new things, whether it's a dietary approach, fasting, whatever. And I would argue, if the 3-week blocks don't go according to plan, that's even more reason why the fourth week to reset should happen. There are tons of benefits to doing this. I think the most valuable is a psychological break from a calorie deficit. And that's why, even if you're stuck in that gray zone, it's even more important to take that chance to reset. It will help you restore your energy levels, your fatigue will dissipate, gives you a chance to set short-term targets and short-term goals, which is going to keep your focus higher. And when you break it down, the likelihood is you'll make sure it counts. If you think, right, I've got 3 weeks here of focus, you're much more likely to go, I am going to fucking do this for 3 weeks, rather than endlessly trying but struggling to actually maintain consistency in the deficit. I've actually been trying this with one of my clients, Rich, over the last month or so. Now, Rich has made amazing progress with his physique. He looks great. He's in his 50s. But in our last call, he told me he's really struggling with energy levels. He finds himself doing great through the day when he's at work because he's in rhythm. He doesn't really think about food. But then in the evening, when all the temptation is there, he's much more likely to end up eating loads of sweet stuff. So I proposed we take a break. He's been at it for a good 6 months. And he's only got a few kilograms of fat I think he wants to lose until he is literally shredded. So we took a break. We said, okay, let's take 2 to 3 weeks of caloric maintenance. We raise the calories up by 500 a day, or roughly 2,500 to 3,500 over the course of the week. And you can organize them as you see fit. Increase carbs. Allow yourself a few of the things that you might find yourself obsessing over or craving. And let's just see what it does to your focus and energy and motivation so that we can go back into the next fat loss phase with more energy and a renewed sense of optimism that we can actually finish what we've started. After 2 weeks, Rich is telling me he feels great. He's more motivated. He's actually learned more about nutrition. And the ironic thing is, he's actually told me he's found himself eating a bit less than he was doing because he now has permission. It's no longer guilt-driven overeating. It's strategic and intentional and part of the plan. And that's what I mean about setting someone up for success, not for failure. So the way that we do this is so simple. We keep training hard, keep moving, do your cardio, get your steps, attack your workouts with intensity. But we raise the calories up, focus on eating more carbs. We give ourselves permission to eat a few treats. We do that for a week. And we combine this with asking intentional reflective questions at this point of the process so we can learn from the last 4 weeks and set goals for the next 4 weeks. That is it. I hypothesize that in 6 months' time, we're going to be seeing more guys finishing the fucking diet within the program, less guys drifting and telling themselves they can't do it, and better results. Even though the process will be non-linear, even though we're going to be having 3 weeks hitting it hard and 1 week where actually the increased food volume, the glycogen, the water weight might mean that the weight actually spikes up a little bit. So we'll see this zigzag line, but if we zoom out and we look at the trend, we're going to see the weight line coming down, the waistline coming down, and more guys finishing the fucking diet.